Hey guys, Straya Guy in China here, and you've caught me having a bit of Chinese for dinner. Got some of my favorites. I've got my special fried rice, my honey beef, and I've got a fortune cookie to wash down for dessert. Well, as far as Chinese goes, this is pretty much what you would have for Chinese in Australia. But I mean, anyone that's lived in China knows that this is pretty inaccurate. I mean, for starters, most people in China don't eat fried rice like this. Most of them opt really for just boiled rice straight out of a rice cooker. And as far as the honey beef goes, yeah, you can find some sweet dishes and that in China. Honestly, I've never actually seen honey beef in particular in China. So I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's not like just an everyday food that people just eat this like sweet sauce on meat type thing. It's not just a regular everyday food. When it comes down to the fortune cookie, this was an American invention. It's not Chinese. And another bonus one here for you, the spork. Well, in this case, it's not even a spork, it's a splade. An Australian invention, actually. Unlike the spork, you've actually got a knife-based edge here, so you get the spoon, the fork, and the knife in one. So, what the hell is Chinese food then? Look, if you spend a bit of time in China, you get to learn some different kind of foods that perhaps you didn't really realize were Chinese before, and you didn't even have exposure to. I mean, when I think about the foods that I relate to in my area, none of it is on my Chinese menu. I've looked over a few different Chinese stores here, and nothing that I actually eat in China is on that menu. So, I mean, obviously, different regions will have different kind of foods. I've heard perhaps maybe the further south you go, maybe you can find some more of these sweeter dishes. But I'm up north. I'm up northeast in Shenyang area. So, what kind of food do we associate with there? Well, I think two different foods come to mind when I think about what I eat in China. And the first one comes in the form of a stick. Now, yeah, it's no lie. There are some places in China where you can literally get anything on a stick. If it moves, it can be roasted and put on a stick. But I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. When I say things on a stick, I mean any form of like vegetable or meat that we usually eat, kebabbed or skewered. Now, when we say kebab, I'm not talking kebab as in like the roll kebab. I'm talking about the skewer kebabs. Well, that's what we call them here, kebabs. I'm talking about these sticks, essentially here. Now, when you eat them in China, you'll find that you go and you can pick something delicious, whether it be chicken or beef, pork, potato, radish, onion. You can find almost anything. And it's kind of like their version of a barbecue or rotisserie, where you go up, you just get kind of a plate and you just dump all of this stuff that you kind of want to eat on the plate. Yes, it's raw, but you take it up to the front. They're like, great, thanks. And then they cook it for you and they bring it back out to you. So you just get dumped this whole bunch of skewers. And when I say a whole bunch, I'm talking things as cheap as maybe 5 to 20 cents a skewer. So you can get about maybe averagely, let's just say 5 skewers for $1. So when you think about going out and eating a meal here, like you could go and spend like $40 on a dinner for yourself. Or you could go get like 40 skewers for just a couple of dollars. Like you're looking at like $4, $5, and you get a bag much like this, just filled with these skewers. You can get a delivery, you can eat there. Often a lot of them have kind of a place you can sit down, eat some of these, like not a fancy restaurant or that, but it's just such a delicious kind of way to just eat like a barbecue, I guess. And often they're not really massive ones either. So you kind of just eat away at them and have a drink and eat away and just get talking. And it's really easy finger food. So that's the first kind of dish that I really enjoy about living in China. And the second one, well, look, if you ask anyone that lives in China, what probably the most unfamiliar item that they knew about eating that was so common in China, or a dish that you say, go to China and what do you need to try that kind of represents China, they're probably gonna hit you with one of these ones. Now, if you don't recognize what this is, then you've probably never been to China or been to an actual Chinese restaurant or spent any time with Chinese people for dinner. Essentially, one of the most common meals that you're gonna have in China is hot pot. Now, I had no idea what hot pot was before I went to China, but I'm gonna do my best to show you a couple little things about what hot pot is and how to go about eating it. So let's enjoy. When you go into a hot pot restaurant, you often get the choice of individual or single heating, depending if you want to have individual or shared hot pot. Then comes the menu. Now, if you're lucky, you'll actually get a tablet to order from. This makes ordering large amounts for groups much easier. Generally, you'll have a minimum of 2 hot pot bases, a spicy one and a plain or mushroom one. However, this could change to upwards of 10 choices, depending on the restaurant. Personally, I prefer the more plain one, as you can always add more later. Now again, much depending on the restaurant itself, you may or may not have a free selection of vegetables, which, if you're someone like me, means you can order very little off the menu and just enjoy all the free vegetables. In addition to the hot pot, you can also order many food items off the menu too, such as skewers, rice dishes, sweet plum drinks, and my favourite, sweet buns. Many restaurants also have a selection of nibbles too. These could be things like crackers, fruit, bar snacks, and sometimes even confectionery that, I must admit, I usually fill my pockets with before I leave. Next comes the most important part of hot pot. Now, I have had Korean jonggo and budae-jjigae, and the Japanese nabemono and shabu shabu, and they all have their own distinct styles or things that set them apart. The thing that makes huoguo, or Chinese hot pot, so different is the sauces. Varying in size depending once again on your restaurant, you will find a massive assortment of sauces, condiments, herbs, spices, and various bits of things that you can use to create your dipping sauce from. This is also why, when I mentioned earlier, that I prefer the plain hot pot base, as the sauces you get can be the flavour. Personally, I usually get things like sesame, shallots, garlic, soy, chives, sugar, chili oil, and nuts to make kind of like a spicy peanut satay. Now to put our food in the hot pot. You can throw whatever you want in there. Meat, potatoes, green vegetables, chopsticks. Oh wait, no, I need them. Now it's just a matter of cooking and eating. Some things take a while to cook, while others, like the thin sliced beef, are almost instant. Oh, just be careful though, because the food may still be boiling hot. Oh, that was actually extremely hot. It did burn my tongue. Okay. I hope you enjoyed that video of some of the food that I eat in China, and essentially what I associate with as Chinese food. So I guess all that's left to do now is break our fortune cookie and see our fortune, wherever it may be. Ah, here we go. Oh. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'm the Straya Guy in China, and I don't have a clever sign-off. Ugh, this fortune cookie tastes horrible.